So Halloween 6 came out in 1995. And the series had gone on a 5-year hiatus because it didn't know where the hell it was going to go next. Because Halloween 5 had basically ripped them into a hole. You know, introducing the man in black, how the Halloween 5 ended with the prison break, and realistically, right, where do you go from there? You know, it is safe to say, and it's fair to say, that what do you do? So they eventually came up with a script, and it is no secret to any of you Halloween fans that you know that Halloween 6 went through hell in production. Like, between too many cooks in the kitchen, scripts constantly being rewritten, scenes being redone and deleted, how it turned out as okay as it did is a miracle. But Halloween 6, in my opinion, it's a mess. Halloween 5 was a mess, but this movie is beyond a mess. There is so much jam-packed into this movie that it's really difficult to keep up with it. It's hard to, there's characters introduced that you're like, was this character related to that character? And who, is this the same guy as, you know, one of the coolest kills in Halloween, one of the coolest, awesome Michael reveals, I think, in one of them, anyway, in this whole franchise. Just where you see, like, the callback to the original Halloween of the white mask just appearing out of the darkness. So fucking awesome. I love it. And the kill, like, putting her head on the spike. Damn, that's some good shit. But it's revealed that the other girl that gave birth, that got saved, is Jamie Lloyd. Wait, what? Yep, this is the same girl as Halloween 4 and 5. Just older and just given birth. Out of the blue. So, already, the movie starts off with like, it starts off messy. Like, why is she giving birth? Who are these people? Should we not have been eased into this, or, you know, it's already a mess. It's just so, if you started off watching this movie before watching any other Halloween movie in the franchise, you're going to be confused, like, what's happening? Who's, what? You know, so Jamie goes off with the baby, escapes, Michael's chasing her. Michael also being played by George B Wilber. George P Wilber. Forgive me, I got my B and my P mixed up. God damn it. So, this is the same guy that played Michael in Halloween 4. In my opinion, the Michael in this movie is one of the best. I think he's brutal, he's angry, he looks great. I think the mask looks great. I love the mask. Looks awesome. And they took away the shoulder pads in this movie. So that's good. He's no longer like that. Which looked ridiculous in Halloween 4. But yeah, so eventually Jamie hides the baby and she gets unceremoniously killed off. And there's a famous story that Danielle Harris, who played Jamie in Halloween 4 and 5, said that she was originally intended to come back to this movie, but they were trying to underpay her, and she went off and she got the requirements that she paid for to go over there and do the movie, but she found out they were going to kill her off, and probably to save money. I don't believe that's for the story, but I didn't see any reason for Jamie to be killed off other than shock factor. But it was disrespectful. No different than Rachel being killed off in Halloween 5. Disrespectful and pointless. And just why? So Jamie's killed off, and then we're reintroduced to the legendary Donald Pleasance, back one final time, sadly, as Dr. Loomis. And I will say, he did look great in this movie. He didn't look frail, I thought he looked great in this movie. He was rocking a full beard and everything. He looked great. He gave a great, powerful performance, as always. And unfortunately, he passed away before he could complete the movie. Unfortunately, very, very shortly after he finished shooting. So, which is very unfortunate, when this is the man that's been in the franchise since the very beginning, apart from Halloween 3. He was in all of them. He dedicated himself to this franchise. So, legend. True legend. So he comes back and he's basically hears on the radio that, Jamie is calling him on the radio. She's trying to get in touch with a radio station. And that's what lures him out of retirement to once again fend off the Shape. And you also have Paul Rudd in this movie. I think this is his second movie, if I'm not mistaken. And this man does not age. He looks exactly the same today as he did back in 1995. I mean, this was shot in 1994, and he still looks exactly the same today. Those are some good genes. Sure, he's not a vampire. Hey, fuck, could be. Either way, love Paul Rudd, legend. And you have the Strode family introduced. And there isn't just a straight answer of, are they related to Laurie? How? They could just answer that, but they just throw the name Strode in there and we're just expected to believe, oh, okay, well, they're related, and, But you also have the return of the Man in Black. Of course you do. I mean, they have to find some way to write him in. And yeah, so Tommy's back, or Paul Rudd plays Tommy, who's the character was in the original Halloween that was being babysat by Laurie. So he's back, and his character is a bit of a creep. Like, he's staring at windows, watching Kara getting dressed and undressed, and it's a bit creepy. Dude, you don't do that shit. So yeah, he's a bit of an oddball. Paul Rudd's performance in general in this movie isn't particularly the best. Now, he was a young man back then, who's only getting into acting, and maybe it was the director who told him to do all that. The way he carries the baby and looks back, just the looks he gives, the faces he pulls, smiles whenever Michael appears when he's trying to knock the door down, he smiles, then he goes back down. Bizarre choices. But I guess maybe he's traumatized, and I don't know. But the kills also in this movie, I felt we were kind of robbed in a way. And what I mean by that is some really cool kills. Now, we did get some great kills. Like, we had the dad getting electrocuted and his head explodes. Jamie's kill, I guess, Would have been more cooler if it was a different character, but, you know, creative. But there's so many kills that look great, but we don't see the result. Like the mother, who is probably one of the most sympathetic characters in this franchise, I may add. How she's married to that asswipe and I don't know. But she has a death where like she's out in the back garden and she's throwing all the sheets away to get away from Michael, and suddenly he's there with like an axe, and she's like, Michael, and he does, and you don't see the money shot. You just see blood being splattered on one of the sheets, and that's it. It's like, ah, damn it, I wanted to see the whole thing. There's scenes where Michael does a lot of stabbing in the stomachs in this movie, which is pretty basic. I mean, there's, you know, and like the character, the weird fucking guy with a great mustache. But, you know, he had the fucking trench coat on and shit, and he had like no shirt under it, just a trench coat. Fancy boxers, I don't know, but yeah. So you have Michael, which I think is like a cool little callback to Annie's death in the original Halloween, like where he appears in the backseat of the car, grabs. But when he stabs, you don't see it. You just see the hand going down, but you don't see the money shot. You know, you hear it, but and you don't see what he does after. And just things like that I felt we could have seen. You know, I felt there was no excuse not to show it. Maybe budget-wise, maybe they ran out of money. I don't know. But I want to see the full kill. Don't tease me with a kill and not show it. I'm aware of how psychotic that sounded, but you know what I mean. And then, you know, the whole movie just feels like you're asking questions all the time. Like every part of it, like, why is this happening? Why is he doing that? Why is he saying that? Why is Tommy leaving the baby down and going off leaving? How, you know, so many weird questions. Bizarre. You know, we have the reveal of that the man in black the whole time was Dr. Wynn. This is the same character, apparently, from the original Halloween that we saw very briefly. But he was like, now for God's sake, you can't drive a car. You know, him. And the whole time it was him. He's the cult leader of a Celtic cult. And the bizarre part is there's an old lady in this movie, and she's telling the story of little Mikey Myers. And, you know, she's telling the story of Halloween and what is Halloween and all that. And then you get the scene where, after it's revealed Dr. Wynn is the man in black, where she's like, apparently, you know, she has the knife, and she's like, hello, my dear, and with the knife. Why the fuck is she involved? They didn't give an explanation as to why she is part of that. She's just an old lady. It makes no sense. It's like someone just said, oh, this would be a cool twist. Imagine that. No, the fuck it is not. It's a stupid twist. A lot of decisions in this movie don't make sense. A lot of them. And you're just left with more questions than answers by the time this movie ends. You're seriously just sitting there like, why? Why is Michael's mask lying on the floor at the end? Why would he just take his mask off and walk away? Doesn't make sense. Now, anybody could easily say, well, there's the producer's cut, which is a good bit different. A lot of the stuff that was cut, they throw it back in, but it still doesn't make this a good movie. Now, I've seen those cuts. For me, it still doesn't make a difference. It does not make this a fantastic movie. Is it the worst movie? No. In my opinion, this is better than Halloween 5 because the Michael we get is great. The mask is a lot better than Christ and is tucked in, per se. But that's not really saying much. That's not raising the bar very much. You know, you get this kick-ass scene where Michael goes into the surgery room with like 20, 30 people, where he walks in with a machete and he just slays everybody. But there should be a warning if you got epilepsy and that scene comes in. You know, that's just leave the room or skip past it. But it's cool, like you get some scenes like where he's like doing that, but just the light flickering constantly like that felt so unnecessary. Like, I get it was a creative decision to make everything look more intense and more, holy shit, what the fuck is happening? That scene would have been cool just with the light up, just constant light. You didn't need to have the whole light flicker. I felt it was unnecessary and just pointless. Then you get the awesome scene, which is probably one of my personal favorite scenes, where they're running down the corridor and there's a guy, one of the surgeons that runs out, who, fun fact, that's the guy who was running from Michael in the corridor, you know, with the red light, was the guy playing Michael's father in real life. I think George B Wilber was, I think, sick or something, and he had to go out. He couldn't come in that day to work, so they had to have somebody else doing it just to take over for a little bit briefly. But yeah, you get this kick-ass scene. But I swear, I've always said it when I was a kid, I swear, it genuinely does look like Michael was sprinting a little bit, like he was really properly, and I was like, holy fuck. And that's terrifying. Michael walking slowly, okay, you can run and whatever, but him running like that, that's even more terrifying than him walking. You know, it's like that scene in Friday the 13th Part 2, whenever she's in the hut, and you know, in the windows to her right, and you see Jason in the background running towards it. Genuinely terrifying, you know. So you get that cool ass scene, and that guitar riff is fucking sick. I love it. Oh, it's so good. Every time it comes on, I get pumped, and it's so cool. And of course you have like Paul Rudd's character closing the fucking gate on the surgeon, like, good luck, pal, you're on your own. Runs, then Michael puts his head. Originally, Michael was supposed to put his head through the whole thing and was gonna split into like 4 pieces, but unfortunately we didn't get that cool kill. So it was cut and we got like a half-assed fucking thing, not even remotely as cool when you think about what we could have had, but still cool overall. And yeah, so you get the whole movie is just a mess. Like I said, too many cooks in the kitchen. But this movie also brings an end to the Thorn trilogy. The Thorn trilogy, which is 4, 5, and 6. Do they wrap it up well? No, because it doesn't. No, I do really want to like this movie, but every time I watch it, I'm always walking away with questions, and that's annoying. So it's really no wonder that after this movie, they just rebooted the whole franchise and ignored this movie 4 and 5 because it got so messy. You know, you had Halloween 4, which was solid, in my opinion. Halloween 5, which was just a mess and boring. Then you have this, Halloween 6, which is chaotic. Like, story-wise, there's so much crammed into it that it's difficult to really, you know. But so Halloween 6, bizarre, too much going on. Great Michael though, potentially the scariest Michael In my opinion, I think George P. Wilber absolutely dominated this role. Like, he thought about 4, and he came back in this movie, just said, right, I'm gonna really fucking take this up a notch. And he was awesome. So, definitely one of the scariest Michaels in the whole franchise. Best look, one of the best looks. And yeah. So, let me know in the comments, what do you think of this movie? Did you enjoy Halloween 6? And do you think it added too many questions? Or maybe I'm missing some things. Maybe I was overthinking things. Let me know in the comments. We'll talk about it. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I wholeheartedly appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you. And love you all. And don't kill anyone.